Hi, welcome to my channel, To Info. Today I have a reading for a divine feminine that is at the beginning stages of the twin flame journey. So you just met your divine masculine, you discovered your twin flame, and now currently you are in separation, in no contact with your divine masculine. And this reading is for a divine feminine that is struggling with the twin flame journey. So you may be experiencing, I don't know, dark night of the soul, or, going through an ego death. You're probably asking yourself, like, why does it have to be this way? What is this exactly, or what have you? I know exactly how it feels. I've been there, and I can't even say been there, done that. I can say been there, done that about the beginning stage. I'm like 2 years into this journey though, and I'm now at a point where I know I'm a little bit more knowledgeable about this journey, and I have some resources with which I'm going to share with you, Divine Feminine. I will list about 5 resources in the description box. These are other YouTube channels that I feel helped me during this journey. So I'm going to pass them along to you. But right now I have a message from Spirit. Now, the reason why the cards are laid out right now is I was having I pulled these out yesterday. I was having some technical difficulties. When that usually happens, I'll usually just scrap a reading. But when I looked at these cards and I started to receive a message, I realized, like, I have to get this message out. I can't just scrap this. So I decided that I would, lay these out today, and I'm going to read them now that I'm up and running. So yeah, let's get into it. Like I said, I will list the resources that I have for you. I actually wrote them down in the description box of this reading. But right now, let's get into this reading that I have for you from Spirit. Okay. So the first card that came out, oh, by the way, this is an Oracle-led reading. I had pulled 3 cards from the Heart's Hidden Secrets, and then I clarified with another Oracle, which is the True Emotional. So the first card that came out was Distracted, and the words on here are sidetracked, change, delays, and that is being clarified by drinking, toxic lifestyle, and Queen Bee. And the words here are secure, confident, boss bitch, career focused. So Divine Feminine, like I said, this is a reading for Divine Feminine that's at the beginning stage of the twin flame journey. And clearly this is acknowledging that you are struggling, and you're probably trying to distract yourself because you're feeling really down and out. Probably trying to distract yourself and indulging in bad habits such as drinking or what have you. I mean, I don't know, whatever whatever your drug of choice may be, or whatever bad habit, addiction you may have, or what have you. I believe we all have a little something. So one of the addictions could be, I was thinking about this earlier, that, it could be, I don't know, maybe you're an emotional eater. Even underneath here, I saw the Jezebel card, and there's the Jackass card. And so I was even thinking that's another way that you could be trying to distract yourself, is by being promiscuous. Maybe, looking for love in all the wrong places. I know, like, being rejected by your divine masculine can be very hard, very difficult. So maybe, this could be a divine feminine that is saying, hey, well, if my divine masculine doesn't want me, fine, I'll find somebody else that does want me, and you're just kind of like throwing yourself out there. And, it's kind of like any takers, like you're kind of, in this Jezebel spirit. So that's another way that a divine feminine out here could be trying to distract themselves from the twin flame journey. It's in general just a toxic lifestyle. So divine feminine, you'll have to be honest with yourself what that is. What is it that you are doing, that you're indulging in, that is like unhealthy. It's not conducive to your growth. It's not helping you to be the best version of yourself. So, Spirit is not calling you out. Spirit is calling you in. And so now's the time to really, like I said, be honest with yourself and acknowledge, what it is that you may be partaking in, that, you're just trying to distract yourself. And you're distracting yourself from your true calling. Spirit wants you to acknowledge that you are this queen bee. And this is secure, confident, boss bitch, career focus. Like, Spirit really, I feel like this represents like the Empress. So Spirit wants you to hold yourself in a higher regard, to really value yourself, and to have a sense of worthiness. So so Spirit is really wanting you, you're having to do the shadow work, and yes, that can be difficult, that can be hard, but the ultimate goal is for you to feel secure, for you to feel confident within yourself, to find the light within yourself. And I will actually come back to this, because I will come back with like, a bit of solutions, because we have here boss bitch, career focused, right? So this is aligning with you being the best version of yourself. So I will touch on that towards the end. So I'm going to go through here. So here we have the divine feminine, right? This is how I know this is your reading. It says here yin, feminine energy. So it's time for you to really get in touch with your feminine energy, right? Your feminine self. Part of that is also like resting in, I'm sure you've heard of it. There's a lot of these channels that talk about divine feminines, and they say something like, rest in your feminine energy. Make sure that, like when you are putting yourself out there and you're dating, make sure you are matching with, a masculine that respects your feminine energy. But before all that, and if that's, and maybe you might even get to a point where you're not even interested in connecting with anybody. And that's also, obviously an option here with the spiritual twin flame journey as well. Like, but this is being clarified by not happy. And don't take offense, but it's being clarified by Psycho. And the words on here is crazy ex, obsessed, won't let go. So yes, this is clarifying the divine feminine. So like I said, this is spirit not calling you out. This is spirit calling you in, divine feminine. And this is really asking you to be honest with yourself. So one of the things that happen on a twin flame journey is that when you meet your divine masculine, the divine feminine does tend to obsess and more than likely like be like chase, have a anxious attachment style. And you know, we tend to obsess over the divine masculine, and the divine masculine rejects you, and then you're like, what's going on, right? Because as a twin flame, you're being told, you know, spiritually that you're feeling spiritually guided towards this divine masculine, and you're being told this is your person, and you get confused, like, why doesn't my divine masculine want me? Why are they rejecting me, right? Why does this journey have to be this way, right? You're probably asking yourself that. Like, I asked myself that question. Why couldn't this process, this journey, this connection, why couldn't it be easy like all the others? You know, everybody else, it seems like when they meet their person, it's mutual. They fall in love. They get married, they have kids, and then they live happily ever after, right? And while on the twin flame journey, you're like, you find out, oh, it's all this, you know, you gotta separate, you gotta do the shadow work, you gotta do all this work, and or what have you. Just know, divine feminine, like, you were chosen for this journey. And you know, as that saying goes, what doesn't kill you only makes you stronger. So you were chosen for this journey for a reason, and that's because you can handle it. You can. Now, of course, you're experiencing, I mean, like I said, this is a divine feminine at the beginning stage of the twin flame journey. So you may very well be experiencing these things where you're hooked on the divine masculine, and you're obsessed, you're attached, and you're not happy. And that's understandable, and your feelings are valid. But the reason why you're not happy, divine feminine, is because you are looking outside of yourself for external validation. And this is why the divine masculine is rejecting you. I like I said, I don't know if I can explain it very well. That's why I said I listed several channels, resources that I will list in the description box. And one in particular, she touches on, she's a twin flame herself, and she's very knowledgeable. She goes in depth about twin flames, the twin flame journey, and what it's all about. What this journey is, I will tell you, it's all about you. So it's all about, and they say like, you are your divine masculine. This journey, it really is, it's about like self-love. It's about getting to this place where you don't need your divine masculine, and you don't need anybody, right? Like you're supposed to arrive to this place where, you know, you recognize this energy within yourself. You embody this. You see yourself as the queen bee. You become very secure, very confident. You become this boss bitch. That's what this journey is about. It's about you recognizing your true, authentic self. You're the queen bee. So, but just understand that right now, like this is probably why you're not happy, and that's because you are attached to your divine masculine. It is time to detach and to, what is this? Stop obsessing, stop, being in your head, always thinking about the divine masculine and worrying about what they're doing, where they are, who they're with. Like, you're supposed to be focusing on yourself, focusing on your spiritual journey, and focusing on building yourself up, like really, like being, like I said, being secure, being more confident. Really, this whole journey is all about like coming back to yourself. This reading is also, this is very specific, so don't force this to fit if this is not your story. But the next card we have here is pain, and it says apprehensive, afraid, cautious. And that's being clarified by under pressure, which says anxiety, decisions, time's running out, and married. So this is a divine feminine that is feeling the pressure to get married. So you may be a divine feminine that's either, maybe you were married before and you're divorced. So you may feel that you failed at marriage once before, but you are wanting to try again. Or you may be a divine feminine that has never married, never been married before. Now, this feels like a very personal reading because I totally get and understand this. I am a woman of a certain age. I will share this. Never married, no kids. And yes, at one point, I was feeling this pressure. And this is also speaking to the milestones, right? We're all like kind of stuck in this 3D template, right? And we're really here to have a human experience. And you should, have the freedom. You're supposed to have the freedom to decide for yourself, like what your human experience is going to be. But when we're born into this world, that is dictated to us, right? And as like, this is a divine feminine reading. I know that for, I'm a woman. So as a little girl, we are told, like you're supposed to want to get married, want to have kids. And, I figured, yeah, okay, like that will be my life then, right? I'm gonna have it. But of course I wanted to like have it all. I was gonna have the career, I was gonna have the money, I was gonna have the husband, the kids, and I was gonna live happily ever after. But yeah, things didn't really pan out the way I had expected it to. The way that society has dictated to me, and it's told me that, hey, this is what's expected of me. This is how it should be, right? So of course, when you like don't meet these milestones, these like internal clocks or what have you, it's like expectations and whatnot, when you don't meet them, you start to feel like a failure. You start to feel like something's wrong with you. So divine feminine, you know, especially, and now that you've just met your divine masculine and you thought that this is exactly what's going to happen, right? That you were just going to like, okay, this is my person, we're going to get married, and everything I thought was going to happen is going to happen. And not to say that it won't, but there's work, right, to be done. There's some inner work. So that's what Spirit wants you to focus on right now. And to also, while you're detaching from the divine masculine, to detach from these expectations, right? These so-called like milestones that were dictated to you, and to really find happiness, find love within yourself, to come to that understanding that, you know, that you are complete on your own, and that you're not needing, you know, your divine masculine, you're not needing kids, you're not needing anything outside of you to complete you. So once again, your feelings are valid, but that's what this journey is about. It's about coming back to yourself and feeling whole, just like on your own, within yourself, and not feeling like, okay, I need something outside of myself to complete me. I think once you understand, so at the bottom of the deck is soulmates. We have deep love, unity, connection. And it's being clarified by spiritual, which says chaos, ego, death, downward spiral, spiritual awakening. And then it's also being clarified by I miss you. So I feel that this essentially is this is the overall energy. So this is aligning with, especially this is aligning with the twin flame. So your divine masculine is mirroring you. They are also going through their own, you know, spiritual journey, spiritual awakening. You both are. And that's what the separation is for. You're, you know, supposed to be doing your shadow work and working on yourselves, doing the inner work. And then the bonus is, you know, you and your divine masculine coming together, reuniting. Now, there's also a possibility, and this says I miss you. So I feel like this is a message. I would even say, because we have here a love message. So I feel like this is, through this reading, the divine masculine is essentially sending a love message to you from the 5D probably, and saying I miss you. And they are thinking of you, but they want you to focus on yourself. They want you to do the work and understand divine feminine. On the twin flame journey, the divine feminine leads spiritually. So that's really like what you are being asked to focus on. You're being asked to focus on yourself and your spiritual journey, and you're, you know, you're going to lead your divine masculine. They're supposed to follow you, but you're not supposed to be, you know, worried about what all they're doing, you know. You're supposed to, as I was saying, detach and worry about yourself. But yeah, that's what I feel that is. Also, understand that sometimes there are some divine masculines that don't rise to the occasion. So you are still expected, you know, divine feminine, to do your part. You know, you're supposed to focus on you and ascend, evolve. And you will call in, if not your divine masculine, you will call in a divine masculine that is, more than likely part of your soul tribe. So, if love is what you want, marriage, and that's the thing, like, and I think it's fine to still want these things, but you are really the way to call in this love, call in your person. You are supposed to focus on yourself, pour your energy, shift your energy, and pour your energy into yourself. It sounds very selfish, I know, but that's exactly what this is. Like, you are being asked to really choose yourself. You're being asked to put yourself first. You're being asked to, recognize this queen bee energy within yourself. So as I was saying, I was going to touch upon the boss bitch and the career focus, right? So maybe one of the questions you may have is, well, what am I supposed to do, right? Because sometimes a lot of us don't want to hear, we're like, oh, that's corny to hear, like, oh, you're supposed to, like, practice self-love and focus on yourself. Okay. But that's the thing. You're like, well, what do I do exactly? Well, first and foremost, like I said, you want to get honest with yourself and look at your habits, look at your lifestyle. Are you just trying to distract yourself, from something? Like, do you have issues that you're not dealing with, shadow work that you're ignoring? And every divine feminine is going to be different. You have to decide for yourself. When they say be the best version of yourself, what does that mean to you? Right? For all of us, it's going to be different. And what I love about this, I'm a Capricorn. So, hello, when I see boss bitch and career focused, I'm like, say less. Bet. Right? I'll admit, like, I'm not exactly where I want to be career-wise. Actually, and I actually have it in my description, I actually had a great job and I got let go. And now I'm like, I kind of feel myself flailing and I'm trying to figure out, like, well, what is it that I want to do? I was drawn to tarot, right? That's why I started this tarot channel. I would not have thought in a million years that I would be doing tarot, but I do feel called to do tarot, and clearly I need some practice. Like, I'm one of my weaknesses, I'll admit, is public speaking. Sometimes I feel like I over explain things, and I'm not even gonna lie, since having this channel, I've been feeling very insecure about that, but that's something that I need to practice and I need to work on, right? I need to start feeling a bit more secure, more confident within myself. I need to trust myself, right? And I'm trying to figure out, like, okay, you might have a gift. That's the thing, divine feminine. You may have a gift and you may feel called to it. And that's one of the things that I will put in the description box. There was actually a video that touched on that. But after your spiritual awakening and you discover what your gift is, you could very well find a way to take your gift and monetize it, right? Pour yourself into it. This is something you're passionate about. This is a way for you to, maybe it's a way for you to contribute to the collective. So it's, like I said, it's going to be different for everyone. It could be anything. It could be some sort of community work or something. So anywho, I'm not going to go into, like, you'll have to figure it out for yourself what that is. But being the best version of yourself, just think about, just what are the things that you want to do? What's your idea of being the best version of yourself? That could be working out, eating healthier. Like that could be, finding out what your gift is, your passion, and really pouring yourself into that, practicing, becoming that boss bitch, becoming career focused. Really toning down on a toxic lifestyle, toning down on drinking. Stop distracting yourself. This is kind of like a bit of like avoidant behavior sometimes. Maybe you're a type of person that like when you have an issue, you're like, I don't even want to acknowledge it. I don't even want to deal with it right now, right? But the better version of you will address it. You will handle these things. Also, the best version of yourself would also be choosing yourself, right? Like that goes into like being secure and confident instead of detaching from particularly from your divine masculine, from any masculine. So and then also just like not pressuring yourself, not beating yourself up for not meeting certain milestones or what have you. Maybe even taking this pressure off of yourself and just living your life, being happy with who you are, how you are, and the things that you love to do, doing more of that. So yeah. My battery is actually getting pretty low. I did want to pull a couple of oracles, but I might actually have to just choose one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the Magical Spirit Oracle. I love this one. Whoa. And it's the brilliance of you. So I'm going to choose one of these and we're going to end on and then I'm going to close out the reading. Sorry, I just have to watch my battery now. So I want to make sure I get this oracle in. All right, Spirit, please let us know what messages you have for the Divine Feminine. What messages do you have for Divine Feminine on the Twin Flame journey and is needing your guidance, Spirit? One card, please. Oop, okay, I'm not going to pick that up right now. We have here, this is number 34. And it says here, it's time to come home, goddess of the sea, abundance, purification, ego, right? Didn't I just mention the ego death? All right, number 34. I'm going to read this. This is probably going to be a bit of a read, but we're going to get through this. Okay. Goddess of the sea, abundance, purification, ego, treasures. Affirmation spell. I am coming home to where my soul calls me. The fisherman has been on a long and challenging journey. He has been casting his net for fish, but the fish do not come. His soul is starving and he longs for more. Suddenly he sees a shining light in the distance, a soft purple glow that he decides to follow. He is led to the goddess of the sea, her ruling element being the forces and symbology of water. Her purpose is to help us remember where the real treasures are. She can show you what it is you need, not just what you want. And if you are willing to know, she can show you what is soul versus ego. She takes you beyond your false needs and false self. She shows you a world of true spiritual abundance. The fisherman symbolizes the ego and its endless desires and hunger for more. Yet he is searching in the wrong places, and it's never enough. He plunders the sea and gets lost in its vast expanses. After all his searching for more, he has never felt less, small, insignificant, empty, even though an abundant sea lies beneath him and all around him. The goddess of the sea dissolves everything that is not true or rooted in soul. This can be painful, as we all have our vices. She is powerful and represents the endless abundance of water, its purification power, and the cleansing it can bring. Pulling this card is affirmation of her awakening within you. You're starting to notice more of what is not true. You're realizing more often when you are casting a net for false treasure. The things that used to sparkle have become dull and undesirable. You feel called toward what is real for you. You're becoming less and less like the fisherman. This card can also be a sign to watch extra closely where you are fishing. The sea goddess calls you near and has much to show you. You are so close to her. It is time to come now. Release your net. You don't need it much longer. Manifestation enhancer. Reflect or journal on the fish you used to cast your net for. Acknowledge the false ego desires you no longer seek or catch. Appreciate the times you have chosen to come home instead. Reflect on anything now that feels misaligned for you or anything that doesn't seem to shine like it used to. This is your sign to let the net loose. Oh my God, that was so beautiful. And you know what it really reminds me of? Like, you know, they say like, oh, there's plenty of fish in the sea. And, you know, I just touched on like anxious attachment. So it's like you're looking for that external validation outside of yourself. So this is really speaking about, you know, like coming home to yourself and realizing like, you know, all that fish that's out there, like wanting that's all ego. So, so yeah, you can definitely rewind that. I might have to reread that, but since my battery is getting low, I actually want to try to close this out as quickly as possible because I don't want it to cut off on me. But I'm going to actually pull a magical message. This is also the same Alexis Raccoon. The same author that created this oracle also created this cute oracle. These are magical messages from the universe. So I'm just going to pull one and then I will close out the reading. All right, Spirit, what messages do you have, Spirit, for the collective, for a divine feminine on the twin flame journey that is in need of your guidance? What messages, Spirit? What additional messages do you have? Oh my gosh, this is same card that came out the last time that I pulled from this. Oh goddess, what big wings you have for such a long journey. Trust them. This is so on point because the journey, it's really speaking of the twin flame journey, the spiritual journey. So trust yourself. Come back home to yourself, divine feminine. Okay, I'm going to leave it on that note. Thank you for tuning in. Please check the description box. I will list the resources for you if you are on this twin flame journey and you're needing guidance. Trust and believe. There are people out here that know what they're talking about, and I'm going to share them with you. All right. Thank you. Thanks you for tuning in, and I will catch you in the next one. All right. Bye.